Let's dive into an idea that might sound a little backward at first. What if being misunderstood isn't a weakness? What if it's actually a sign of incredible intellectual strength? Today, we're going to uncover the 8 habits of people who are comfortably misunderstood and see how they find a kind of freedom most of us are missing. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a really original idea, but you kind of held back because you were worried about how people would react? Or maybe you've softened an opinion just to fit in with the group? Yeah, that feeling is completely universal. But here's the thing. What if that very discomfort, that fear of being misunderstood, is the single biggest thing getting in the way of your best thinking? Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. This ability to be okay with being misunderstood, well, it doesn't just happen by accident. It all stems from one single powerful trait: low validation dependency. And this right here is the engine of intellectual freedom. Most of us walk around with a pretty high degree of validation dependency. It's that little voice in the back of your head that's always asking, what will they think of this? It's this deep-seated psychological need to have our logic and our conclusions rubber-stamped by everyone around us. Sure, it makes us feel safe, but it can also keep our thinking really, really small. The alternative is what we're talking about: low validation dependency. Now, to be clear, this is not about being arrogant or just ignoring all feedback. Not at all. It's about building the confidence to trust your own internal logic, to stand by your conclusions, not because they're popular, but because you've done the really hard, rigorous work to get there yourself. This contrast really paints the picture, doesn't it? On one side, you have someone who's constantly looking outward for approval. They want consensus, and they're afraid of disagreement. They're basically playing a game that's being scored by other people. But on the other side, you've got someone who looks inward. They trust their own logic, they actually welcome a good debate to sharpen their ideas, and they operate from a strong internal compass. It's a whole different way of being. So the big question is, how do we build this internal compass? Well, it all starts with a set of foundational habits. These first 4 are all about creating a rigorous process for how you think, long before you ever start worrying about what somebody else thinks. So let's see how this foundation gets built. It all starts with habit number 1, question all assumptions. This means challenging the givens, especially your own. Then, habit 2, think from first principles. This is about breaking a problem down to its most basic fundamental truths, not just making analogies. Habit 3 is a huge one. Actively seek dissent. You don't just tolerate different views, you actually hunt down the smartest people you can find who disagree with you. And finally, habit 4. Be willing to willingly change your mind. This isn't weakness, it's the ultimate intellectual strength. And this quote just says it all perfectly. If your ego is tied up in being right, you'll fight to defend your position no matter what. But if your goal is to get it right, to actually find the truth, then you'll welcome challenges and you'll change your mind with enthusiasm. The whole focus just shifts from ego to accuracy. Now, once you have that foundation in place, you can move on to the next 4 habits. These are all about reinforcing your independence and shifting your focus away from what other people think and toward your own internal integrity. So how do you strengthen that independence? Well, these next habits are about building internal rigor. First, you develop deep, verifiable knowledge. You just can't have conviction without competence. Next, you learn to value the process of thinking itself, not just rushing to find an answer. Then you maintain a strong internal scorecard, judging your own logic by your own high standards. And finally, you communicate for clarity, not for applause. The goal is to be understood with precision, not to win a popularity contest. And that brings us to maybe the most crucial point of all. When it comes to your own reasoning, there is only one audience member who truly, truly matters. One. And that's you. Your internal scorecard is the only one you need to worry about. If you can honestly and rigorously convince yourself you're on the right track, so when you put all 8 of these habits together, something really remarkable starts to happen. You move beyond that nagging fear of being misunderstood and into a state of genuine intellectual independence. This is the ultimate payoff. Ultimately, this is what it's all about. Being comfortably misunderstood isn't about being a contrarian or picking fights just for the sake of it. It's about earning the freedom to trust your own mind. It's the deep confidence that comes from knowing you have a rigorous, honest process for arriving at your own conclusions. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. What brilliant idea, what unique perspective, what bold move are you holding back right now simply out of a fear of being misunderstood? Just imagine what could become possible if that fear was no longer in the driver's seat.